All right, hi everyone. My name is Josh, and today I just want to be giving you a bit of an insight onto my summer and all of my experiences with Deephaven and Deephaven-ib. So, for those of you who don't know me, I am a college sophomore going to the Colorado School of Mines who is majoring in computer science. And this summer, I was hired as an intern here at Deephaven to do quite a few things. And the primary things were to learn how to use Deephaven and Deephaven-ib, create some interesting projects, and then really document what I did through content production, such as blogs, to really outreach and show what Deephaven is capable of doing. So to get started, I really just had to learn how to use the software. So I had heard from everything that I've seen about Deephaven that I should really start with the quick start guide. And I was initially a little bit overwhelmed with just all of the things that I had to install, such as WSL and Docker, because I really hadn't used that type of stuff before. But following this quick start guide and really just walking through each of the steps, it was really easy to set up by the end of it. And after about an hour of just installing some software and then setting it up, I was ready to use it, and I had no issues from that point forward, which was really surprising to me because in the past, setting up software was never easy, and it would just take hours and maybe even days to get it all figured out. But once I had it all figured out, I decided to just jump in headfirst and find a project that I was interested in. And I was looking around online, and I eventually stumbled across some data from the Colorado government about graduation with like students with disabilities, and I noticed something. They also had a tool that would allow them to like plot data and show you the data, but I found it to be really terrible. I could not really use it. As you can see in the picture at the top there, it was really just all over the place and hard to really do anything with. So I decided this would be the great place to start because it would let me see just how good Deephaven is compared to some existing solutions out there, as well as look at a topic that I was kind of interested in. So I went through, I followed some of the tutorials online and all the documentation that Deephaven had, and I found it again to be a pretty straightforward process to make a graph and analyze, aggregate the data. And as you can see in the bottom there, I made a much better end result with probably like maybe even just an hour's worth of work. Again, took like no time at all, and it produced something that I was surprised with that I didn't think was possible to make in such a short time with the software. And after that, I decided that that was a good first step to blog. And I found that blogging was a very new experience for me since I don't have a hidden food blog that you guys don't know about. But I did find it to be a great progress tracker because it was very nice to actually sit down and think about what I did and what the meaning of it was and really put that out there so that other people can see it and other people can learn from what I did. And after I did that first blog, I decided to do a few more projects just to get more comfortable with the software. And after a few more, I really felt like I had a solid understanding of Deephaven, and really I felt comfortable doing anything in it. So that's when I moved on to using Deephaven-ib. For those of you who don't know what Deephaven-ib is a plugin with interactive brokers that connects to their trader workstation and allows you to access real-time financial data from Deephaven itself. And with it, it comes a lot of tools to do many cool things, such as automatically trading stocks with real money, monitoring risk, and just so much more. So I ended up using this for a few different things. The first thing I did with it was price prediction. So I took some of the market data of a few companies such as MicroStrategy, and I took a deep look at if I could predict the price based off of other things such as Bitcoin. And as you can see in that middle graph there, I actually did come up with a pretty close prediction. So it was very interesting to see just how you could use this real-time data to predict real things, and it took me very little time to get here as well. All of the documentation up to this point was super in-depth, and you could really take the time to understand what you're learning and doing without having to worry about just copying, pasting code without understanding what it was doing. And then I also did some real-time analysis of these stocks, as well as looking into cryptocurrency momentum and seeing if there was if the idea of buying high, selling higher actually would apply in the cryptocurrency world. And lastly, I actually went ahead and added in that new feature. And if you don't know yet, it was actually adding in the cryptocurrency data. So before this, Deephaven-ib did not really have the ability to work with newer updates of the Trader Workstation and IB API. So I went through ahead and updated it to give it access to this crypto market data. And so now you can access it in the same way as normal market data, and you can access real-time and historical data at any interval that you want. And it's really easy to just add into any project. And you can see some of those examples in the Deephaven repository on GitHub. And now that I had worked with this, I just want to give you kind of my opinions about Deephaven-ib and just a bit about what I feel overall about Deephaven as a whole. So kind of the biggest opinions about Deephaven-ib was that it's really just easy to learn and use. You don't have to spend hours trying to figure out every minute detail to get the stocks to show up on the table. And also, you don't really need to be an expert in finance either. I know I went into the summer with very little financial experience, and yet I was able to do these projects with no trouble at all and really do some meaningful work without having to go to school for 4 years to know exactly what everything means. Also, Deephaven-ib is really good at giving you quick access to these stock and now cryptocurrency data. It takes a few lines of code, as you saw in that last slide, and you have access to real-time historical data and at any intervals that you want for as far back as you want to go. And also, it has really seamless real-time data integration. You don't really have to do anything special to access that data, and you don't have to do anything special to aggregate it and do whatever you want with it. It's really all seamless, and you don't have to learn anything new to do real-time versus historical. And lastly, Deephaven-ib has a lot of really good tools to help you with any project, whether you want to automatically trade if you notice some sort of trend in the stock market, or if you want to monitor your portfolio and see if you are at risk of losing your money. It's really all these tools that it has are just very documented as well, so you can use them for whatever project you might be having that has to do with finance. Now, there are a few downsides to this software. The biggest is that it does require an interactive broker's account, which are not free, and which means that you will have to pay a little bit of money, but a lot of the software capabilities is worth that initial of investment. Also, it is a little harder to diagnose errors because some of the external softwares do not have very good documentation like Deephaven, and so you might get an error and it has 3 different solutions and none of them work. Also, lastly, some of the external softwares can be a little bit inconsistent. Sometimes they just don't give you data, or they just randomly lose connection. But overall, I would say that these downsides should not dissuade you from using Deephaven-ib, because it is a great integration with Deephaven. And if you already know Deephaven, you know how to use Deephaven-ib. So overall, I really feel like Deephaven and its integrations provide all the tools you need for any project you have. Coming into this summer, I really didn't know what Deephaven is or what it does, but after taking some time and really learning it, it has so many tools that you can do anything. And it doesn't matter if it's in finance or if it's in baseball, you can really do it all. And the other cool thing is that Deephaven and Deephaven-ib, you can learn the code once and use it for everything. The transition from using Deephaven to Deephaven-ib, I really only had to learn some specific things about Deephaven-ib, but all of the code that I learned once, I used it everywhere. Also, the documentation I have found is vast and super helpful, and it just really makes the learning of the softwares really quick, really easy. And so if you are ever worried about, oh, I don't know how to do this thing, it takes maybe one search on the website and you can find a blog post and all the documentation you need about whatever you're trying to do. And overall, I would really recommend Deephaven for any data project. And if you ever have any questions, reach out on Slack or look at the repos and examples, because they have all of the tools and examples and support that you need to really get started and do whatever you want to do. Thank you for listening. That is all.
Great. Thanks, Josh. Do we have any questions? So after using Deephaven, what other kinds of projects do you think it would be good for?
There's a lot of projects. Honestly, anything that has data real time or just large amounts of data, I think it works great for. I think some projects that I had ideas with were even some of the emerging fields like esports, that you can do stuff like looking at the tournament brackets and making those, or you can look at just matchmaking and seeing how we could just use all of that data that they collect to make games more fun and more interesting. There's also things such as learning, like school, see what classes, what places, what areas are performing below average, above average, and maybe discover some of the trends and use that. There's really just a lot you can do with it.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Thanks, Josh. It was good to have you.
Thank you.